Right, so let's go. Right, so here we are. It's another episode of the Tennessee Titans UK Fans Podcast. I'm joined once again by James and David. Guys, thank you for joining me. So
Hello.
we'll get straight into this tonight. Should we go back to where we finished last week, or where do we want to go?
Being frozen.
Oh, James, you're alive. He's moving again. He's moving.
Well, we're good.
Yep.
Yep. Cool. We're going. We're going. We're going. So where do we want to go? Do you want to finish off from last week, or do we want to move to new topics? Where do we want to go?
No, we'll finish off from because we still had quite a bit to go, didn't we?
Yeah,
An
yeah.
awful lot. Notes, 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 notes. Right,
Yeah,
so we
so
were
we,
looking at players, weren't we?
it was a free agency, wasn't it? So who did we cover? We did the D line, obviously Wandale Robinson, tight end.
Franklin Myers,
We did the
Johnson.
trade. So basically the next big thing I think we got to talk about is the two cornerbacks.
Yeah.
We got the Alonte Taylor and I got it from the Saints, I believe, and Cordell Flott from the Giants.
I'm glad you said that.
Um, Hold up, did you say that?
I said,
No,
I'm glad you said his name.
Oh God, I was like, because it all froze, and I was like wondering where it all went because I was like a bit confused what's happening. But yeah, basically got them two expensive pieces, but good promise. They're not top end cornerbacks, but they've got potential, but they are solid. So I'm pretty happy with that. Alonte Taylor, he's a from Tennessee as well, so it's always nice to have a person that comes back to the hometown to hopefully perform and ball out, as they say. But yeah, I'm happy with those two cornerback signings. It was definitely a position that we needed to address, and we addressed it in, I think that was about 5 minutes we signed, or 10 minutes we signed both of them. So that was an exciting moment in the free agency first day, I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, from the end of last season, we had about three secondary, or no, fourth round people playing our secondary, and I think they're two really good signings, especially Taylor. I mean, I think in 4 years he's had 11 pass defenses or more per each season. So. I think he's a really good choice. Trot is also 4 years experience. He's not, but he's got better as he's gone on. So his last season that he played was his best season. So I think we now look to be reasonably strong. I still think we probably need someone else to play in there to come on, a young player to come on. But I think we look really, really good in there compared to the last season.
Who's who's our rookie? Is it Winston? Winston's the safety, isn't he? Or
He's a
nickelback,
safety.
and Harris is the cornerback.
Yeah.
Uh, but Harris played really well last year before he got injured. They both rookies looked to be quite good. So there's a bit of promise. We are probably struggling a bit of in depth across the board, really, aren't we? But it's nice to actually have those sorts of pieces. Um, I mean, correct me,
Oh,
Brownlee and McCreary. Um,
Mm.
I thought I think these two are a better. We look a lot better than we did beginning of last season with what we had as cornerback last year.
can't look any worse, can we?
No. Although to be fair, I mean statistically we weren't that bad actually, but
We
probably
did
better.
well with with not
Yeah,
much, didn't we? We did all right.
yeah. Considering we had nobody after about week three who was of any experience playing, so yeah, we did quite well, and hopefully we'll do better next season.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Here's hoping. Here's hoping. Someone's reading me notes there. Did we mention Solomon Thomas? We were talking
No,
then, the guy we traded, the defensive lineman, is he, I believe, um, from the Dallas Cowboys. Do we think he's going to be a good player for us?
well, I think he's more going to get a bit part role. I mean, hopefully he's not going to be relied on to be, doing 70% of the snaps or anything like that. So, I think the other people in there Johnson, Franklin Myers, and Martin are going to be up there, taking more of the play with obviously Jeff Simmons.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it was a quite a weird. I thought it was quite a weird trade. To be fair, it was just a swap of seventh round picks, and we
Mm.
got a player, and the actual swap is not that bad. So it's another depth piece. He's all right. Um, it's just someone that we've got, as I say, can rotate that defensive line, rest players out. Someone to come in and hopefully do a job for a couple of snaps while you rest like your key players.
Mm.
Um, so yes, we did make a lot of like depth signings across free agency. I think apart from like Wandale, Franklin Myers, the two cornerbacks, you could probably argue the Jermaine Johnson trade. We didn't really make many starters. The rest was very much, I feel like it was a lot of depth pieces, but solid depth pieces. Um, my only concern is the offensive line. I think we've done really badly on the offensive line. Um, Obviously gave up uh, what's his name? Cushenberry. We lost out on Levin went somewhere else. So that was our two centers gone. And then we got Schlotterman, um, which okay. There's a lot of talk about. Seems to be a lot of hype about Jack Slater, the rookie we picked up last year, to kind of come in as centre or a guard position. So hopefully he picks up a bit this year. But the O line selections we've made, I think, have been pretty poor. In I'll give Schlotterman a pass, a buy on this one, but the other ones we've picked, the guards and offensive tackles have been pretty bad, I think. I think we picked up one from the Chargers that was ranked 89th out of 89 on on snaps or something percentages last year. So that's really bad. He's going to be a revolving door on that O line. It's one of those annoying things, isn't it? We just wanted to pick the O line up from to protect Cam a bit more, and we seem to have going backwards on that one.
Well, it seemed to be that with the centre, they didn't pick anybody who's going to definitely be the man for the next 3, 4 years. They just picked someone who's, a couple of people who are probably maybe going to be there for a season. So we haven't really and obviously they've not really decided what's going to happen with Zeitler going because he's obviously not going to be signed back, I don't think. One hopes that probably they'll you know spend some capital and get someone in the draft to maybe start or something, but I'm not sure about that.
Well, that's it. We've got plenty of money, haven't we? Which is, in the cap space. So we've got. You don't want to rush and bring players in, do we? You got to. It's a funny game, isn't it? Where you got to like wait for other teams not to want players and not to waste any draft picks and trades and throw money around you don't want to be thrown around. So I think although they've signed a lot of players to start with, I think again we are going to see a lot more moves and a lot more players signing. Just I mean, we've got another 4 or 5 months till we see some football really. So there's such a big window for things to happen. I guess we're desperate to get players in. We want to see that squad take shape early, don't we?
I think generally they give players at the beginning of free agency the big long contracts. Anybody who's sort of they pick up in sort of June, July tend to be more that's they're only there for a year. Um, on contracts they're not thought of as being long-term players.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think Zeitler's the one that we need to get back. I would feel a lot more confident if we had him, if we re-signed him, even if it was just for a year. I don't understand why we haven't. I think I'm a little bit worried that I'm not necessarily worried, but I'm a bit. I find it strange that we've got so much cap space left. Was that 55 million left that we could spend on free agency, and we are still not bringing in players to fix this O line. And in other certain other positions that we could do with a little bit more depth in. Um, I think the O line is definitely the one that especially that right guard, I think is the one we definitely need to have a starter in there. Um, and Zietler seems to be the one that he played last year. He did really well and was a top ranked right guard. So I don't see why you wouldn't want to bring him back,
Hmm.
even if it's just for a year. But it's a player, someone that can fill that gap as a starter before you need to start thinking about who we're going to sign as that left guard, or sorry, as that right guard. I mean, I think the O line's pretty much nailed on for the starting positions. It's just that right guard, potentially the centre that we're really considering. Unless they really rate this Jack Slater, but I find that hard to believe with a whole new coaching staff that have probably not seen him play or train.
Yeah, I mean, it seems also that Latham is now going to be the right tackle, maybe with a slightly better blocking tight end to his side. Um, Things will be a bit more improved because obviously he was shown a bit wanting last season when Helm was doing the blocking.
Yeah,
Thing is, I know you mentioned as well, James, that we've got plenty of cap space and we've got money to spend. And I guess there's always that temptation to go spend that money quickly. And maybe they're taking their time. And maybe that's the thought process that they want to kind of take the time with these signings and not rush into them. You know, our players thinking they're worth more than a 1 million, more than a 1 year contract because they've got the money. Players maybe holding out for a bit more and they don't want to spend it. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? It's not very often the Titans have this kind of money to spend, and it's nice maybe that they are kind of taking their time and instead of going out and splashing it and wasting it like we have in the past. It's nice that maybe they're actually considering what they're doing and. You know, if you've got your number one target, go for it, but don't overspend. I don't know. The problem is we've got so many gaps to fill as well, haven't we? Which is the problem, isn't it? It's and we are once again we keep saying this, but we're in a rebuild, aren't we? Which is always an issue when you're constantly rebuilding. And I think Salah as well. If it goes wrong here, I think for Salah it's probably the end of his kind of coaching career in the NFL because he's failed once before. He can't afford to do it again. So maybe there is a bit of caution, possibly.
Mhm. Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, it depends how he fails, doesn't it, really? I mean, if they were to be too heavily or 18 months of heavily losing, then he could well be done for a foreseeable future. But if he sort of doesn't do too badly, then he'll probably be here for a lot longer.
it's a weird one, isn't it? Because it's like you don't really know. I'm not really sure how much of. I know. Well, it's obviously Salah's had quite a bit of an input with who we have picked on free agency.
Yeah,
But
half his
then
old players, smaller teams.
it's the GM's job to build the team. So obviously he's taken advice from Salah and Dabol and stuff like that to pick the half the half the players that used to play on the Giants and the Jets. So we picked at the scraps of those two teams, but I just feel it's been a good free agency so far. I'm happy with the free agency. I'm happy with the moves they've made. Um, But yeah, so it's for me, it's just that. It's just that O line really worries me. And it took a while I mean, the beginning of the season last year, we looked awful on the O line. Just couldn't protect Cam at all. Granted, we actually got rid of the messiah of the O line. We got rid of that coach, and suddenly our O line became good. Um, so it went in the right way. But that we lost two of those positions from last year's O line. That showed a big improvement as the season went on, and we've kind of replaced them with bit part players. So it'd be interesting. I just that's the one thing I'd like to see them do is if they're leaving it open for the draft, then so be it. But you'd be thinking they'll be taking quite a high pick to get someone that's relatively good that as a starting caliber for the NFL.
Yeah, well, it depends on where they go, and you know, who they pick and how who's left when their turn is to pick, or because they may see someone who's slipped down the path for some reason or other and decide, he's the man we want, and let's trade up and go and get him.
Yeah, hopefully
It's always tricky on the trade, isn't it? Because you have your eye on a player, and the coaches must talk to each other, know who's kind of picking who, especially at the higher end. But there's always that worry that somebody else might trade up and take that player off you. And do you take that risk and go, well, he's going to be the 70th pick, we'll be fine, and then somebody trades up and takes him because they're desperate to get him as well. It's I wouldn't fancy being part of the NFL draft. I wouldn't fancy having that kind of. There must be so many players people take risks on by not trading up, and then they lose out. And it must be so difficult when you've kind of got your plans and eyes on certain types of players, and you lose them. It must be horrible. It's not something I'd would want to be involved with. I think that would be too stressful.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's a lot of. This year is definitely the most confusing draft for the Titans I think we've had in quite a while. I can't predict where they're going to go. There's a lot of
I
rumors.
don't think they know, do they?
It's a lot of rumors that are coming out saying where we're going to go, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and it's some of it is just it does make it gives it a headache. And I've done some mock drafts and stuff, and it's just been like, which way do I go? I've had to do like three just to kind of give me an idea of, well, if we go with this on the first draft, then what do we do afterwards? Because it also has a knock-on effect of like what you pick in the first and what's available in the second and third round, which of the other positions you need to do. It's not something you could just switch around. And obviously if they Titans want to go down the route of best available rather than the typical needs, then that's another situation they're throwing in as well. It's the first time I've ever thought that we would be going for best available. So that's interesting as well.
Well, that's the different thing. You can see, like, everyone talks about Jeremiah Love, generational talent, but then it's nice to get these players, but if you don't really need them, or if they don't fit your system, or if there's other needs that are needed first, what do you go for? I mean, the fans always want the most exciting attacking players because that's what they want. But then you have to look at long term, what's the best thing? But then obviously our track record in the draft over recent years, we've had some successes, hasn't been great, and it's so hard to get it right. And it's, do you fill the needed gaps, or do you go for these star players? It's when you need so much, it's difficult. If you didn't need much, it's fine. But when you've got to, a whole team to rebuild, apart from the quarterback position, really, it's hard. I mean, we all know like wide receiver is such an important piece at the moment because obviously we need to give Ward plenty of ammunition, but then he needs protection. I was looking at some mock drafts today, and everyone's got a different opinion. Who should pick in the first round? I printed someone off earlier actually, who was saying who, all the analysts and stuff. Where have I put that? I've lost that now. I mean, we've got Jeremiah Love, quite a lot said. Then we've got Ruben Bain, Carnell Tate. So all these different positions, Sonny Styles, Arvel Reese, everyone's got a different opinion of what the Titans need. And I think that this is the problem now. We're not too sure what we need, do we?
Well, I think to be honest, I'm less concerned. I was concerned before, back in the beginning of the year about secondary, and I thought, well, they've got to pick a secondary player in the first three rounds, or probably the first two rounds. Now I don't feel as badly in need of that position as I did before, and I could see them passing and picking someone else instead. The same with I know we do need an edge rusher who's going to be the dominant edge rusher for us, but at the moment, I think you could accept if they don't and pick something else.
Well, on my list here, 13, I think it's from the Titans website, it was 13 of the 20 analysts said Jeremiah Love for the Titans. So obviously, do we need a player like Love in our, well, he's a luxury player, but is he what we need? And, there's so many holes to fill, and it's frustrating, isn't it?
Well, the thing with Love is that, I mean, if you need to watch his, if you haven't, his highlight reel from last season, and he is just a wow player. I mean, he gets to the outside and you think he's going to go 50 yards or get a touchdown. He's that sort of player that for anybody who's a Titans fan will be watching and think, get outside, get out. He's gone, he's gone, he's
Yeah,
gone.
yeah, but the problem
Touchdown.
is we'll sign him and then he'll get minus 50 yards because we won't use him correctly.
Well, yeah. He reminds me of much of Chris Johnson in the fact that
Oh, Chris
I'm a
Johnson, what a
bit
player.
worried about if he had the third and one runs to get because I don't know he's got the same sort of ability in that sense as say Henry had, but if he gets to the outside and also he can he's quite good at catching the ball as well, so he's a dual threat on the outside or even getting through the line.
Yeah, he definitely reminds me a lot of Chris Johnson. And it's a tough one because I'm very much. I've said from the very beginning that we feel like we've needed to get edge, um, and we need someone that's going to put pressure on the opposing quarterback. And I still think we are quite limited. That
Hmm.
Love is definitely one of those players that I guess it's one of those times that before, like we've looked at. I can't remember. I'm trying to think who we signed now. I think was it JC Latham we picked, and then the next pick was Jameer Gibbs. And it's like those sort of players. I mean, obviously, there's loads of players passed up, loads of teams passed up on Jameer Gibbs, but how many people would want him now? A bit like same like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, he went quite late, I believe. So it's players like that. You just don't know how it's going to work out. They could be. You think they're going to be the best thing since sliced bread, and they actually turn out to be nothing. Like Genti was supposed to be the next big running back. I mean, there's still a lot of promise with him, and I know being at the Raiders was a bit of a down. Like, it's going to hinder him, but he didn't explode like everyone thought he was. But like he didn't explode like Jameer Gibbs or Bijan Robinson did. But there's still a lot of promise around him. You just don't want to pick someone and they just turn up to be like Traylon Burks, really, do you? I mean, I like Traylon Burks, but you don't want someone that's going to come
He's
up
made
and
of glass, isn't he? That's the problem with him. He's made of glass.
and this is the other thing is we've got when I'm going to go through the draft, there's been so many players that go, oh yeah, well this will be the next best player. And it's like, yeah, but you
Hmm.
look through the injury, look through the list. It's like, oh, well, he's just come off an ACL, and I'm like, oh, do you know what? I just don't want players that have any injuries because we've been caught out so many times on that. I mean, I know anyone can get an injury, but and obviously Jeffrey Simmons is the opposite end of the spectrum when he came off of an ACL tear and he's well been incredible. But yeah, he just it's tough, and I think there's so
It's
many
law of
good.
averages, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
of blue chip players in and around that kind of top six spots that any one of them you'd be pretty happy with, as long as we don't go Mendoza and be that'd be completely weird.
Hmm.
But
We'd
it's
have to trade up to get Mendoza.
yeah, I wouldn't want to pay, wouldn't do that. But I think there's a lot of players, whoever's available, really. You in that there's the whole Bane thing, isn't it, with his short arms? And I feel like, is that a big hindrance? But it seems we were so far on Bane, it was literally nailed on that he was coming to the Titans. Even Jeffrey Simmons, Cam Ward have all said that he's gonna be at the Titans. And now suddenly it's all just switched. As soon as that thing came back, you having really short arms, we've kind of flipped and it's the script, it's all now kind of going to Jamal Love. And I guess if we go Jamal Love, we're picking edge or linebacker in the second round for sure. And I would probably say if we pick edge in the second, we're picking linebacker in the third because I think those are our two biggest needs. I feel at the moment is edge and linebacker.
I mean, luckily the draft is quite well, not so much with linebacker, but certainly with edge rushers, there's quite a lot to choose from. So um, we should be able to pick someone up, even if they're probably a little bit ahead of where they should be going. It doesn't really, which doesn't really matter, to be honest. I mean, if you can't trade back, then you just take them early. If they're going to be with you for 7, 8 years playing good football, it doesn't really matter if you overpick them.
Yeah, that's the thing. The one thing that did make me laugh about the Jamal Love thing is if we did pick him fourth, I think it was by his second or third season, he'll be the most expensive running back in the league.
No.
With the way the
Hmm.
contract goes. So that's a lot of pressure. If he doesn't play well, then you've got a player that's costing the most amount of money in the league, which is straight. I really don't understand why the league doesn't value the running back like
I know
position.
it's weird, isn't it? Because like I
Because if
say,
you've got
it's
players like Bijan, Jameer Gibbs, Genty, Henry. I mean, obviously Henry's on the kind of the other end of the scale, but you got these players that you could literally
Hmm.
build a franchise round, and yet they're like, we'll spend the money on quarterbacks, edge rushers, wide receivers, cornerbacks, but running backs just really aren't valued, which I
well,
just
yeah,
find strange. There's
you
not
have
many
that
great ones, are
explosive
there?
player, don't you? He's an explosive player who's going to run and charge through all those players. You know, even if they only get you 3 or 4 yards, but those 3 or 4 yards they get you when they're only doing the short work is absolutely huge sometimes to get that first down, or helps break another team down by that constant like charging forward. So the running back is such an important position. But like you say, we'll play every other position, but that one just seems to be at the bottom of the spectrum. I don't really know why. Just kind of when you look at how good some good players you've had over the years. I mean, Pollard, for example. He only got just over 1,000 yards last season, and that was in a poor Titans team. You know, he came good in the end. He did really well, and he got 1,000 more yards than a lot of other players did in the team who were getting paid better money, and yet they don't seem to get that respect for some reason. And you watch a lot of American football, and a lot of teams do play the running game as well. It's part. They can't always throw. To the wide receivers and the tight ends. So yeah, it is weird that they don't pay them that kind of the same money. And it's weird that the players they can't command the money either. It's almost like they start demanding the money. They're like, well, just go then. But it's bizarre. I mean, if we do take Love, do you think that would signal the end of Pollard, or do you think we'd keep Pollard because he's more of a stronger player,
I mean,
that physical side?
I think he's in his last year, isn't he? Wasn't he a 3-year contract he had? So,
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah.
I mean, not disappointed if they keep him for another year and use both of them as for the first for his first season as a rookie Love. And they use Pollard maybe a bit more for the runs through the middle. Because I mean he's not a bad player. People, and he's not as though it's tremendous amount of money. His contract is saved by getting rid of him. It also gives you, just in case there's some injury or something, a back you can rely on. Because I can't really see them Spears being able to carry the load.
Yeah, because I safe to say, I think if we pick Love, I think that could be the end of Spears. Um,
It
as
would be a shame because
having
he's quite good, isn't he?
Hmm.
Yeah, he
But isn't
he
good
is.
enough.
But it's there's such similar players, Love and Spears, and we kind of all need a like a Henry to partner up
Mm.
with Love. So we'd need that power back, bit like with the Lions that had Jameer Gibbs and Montgomery. You had those two, but one was a ground and pound, the one was the one that would kind of break away with a more electrifying speed and the better hands, stuff like that. So Love and Spears are very similar in that aspect. You don't you wouldn't want to use Love as a ground and pound running backs. You can't be looking at somewhere else to get someone else to come in. And obviously, I know we know Pollard can do that, but it's saying Pollard's one of those players that he's not a ground and pound running back, but he's done it very well for the Titans. He has done the hard yards. He's done it really well for us. So I would assume we would keep him for that purpose, really.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a big man. He's just very elusive. He manages to wiggle his way out of tackles and get through that way without actually sort of, like Henry would smash people out of the way and push them out of the way. He'll just try and dance around them.
How long was Henry in Baltimore for? Is he his last year?
I think it might be his last year.
Or was he signed another one? I can't. Be good if we sign Love and then get Henry to come sign back for at least for one more year to have we can have those two players going off would be quite good.
Yeah, I don't think
I
anybody would
do,
say
I
no
do,
to that.
I do miss Henry. So, okay, so talking about the draft then, do you guys want to give me your what you think the Titans will go for in the first 3 rounds? Do you want? Have you got that? Did you do that research? Have you got an idea what you think they'll go for, like player wise, in the first 3 rounds?
Well, I think they should go for Love in the first round, and then it really depends on well, as you go further on, it becomes who's available. Because when you do
Mm.
these mock drafts, you do it once and they give you an order, and then you do it, straight away again, and they give you a completely different order. So, um, but I think I agree with what James was saying that you either need to go linebacker or edge, depending on that. So someone like Rodriguez or Cassius Howell, Zion Young as the edge rushers. Um, and then really when you get into middle of third, I think it depends. I think then you're really just looking for the best available player because they've got some needs like cornerback, um, offensive lineman, maybe even another tight end.
Yeah,
James, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a difficult one. It's, I think we've got the first 3 rounds of we've got to pick an edge and a linebacker. I feel along those sorts of in those three. We've got those have those two positions accounted for in those 3 rounds, and that's if we're going to go with Love. I think they're our biggest holes at the moment. Apart from obviously I've been banging on about the O line all day, but I think we've got to really nail down those. And I say Dave said that there's a lot of depth as edge on this in this draft. So if you don't take one in the first round, hopefully we can pick a good one in the second, maybe. Um, it's it's been a I'm literally just trying to find. I'm actually doing a draft right now. And I picked Love in the first round, and they've come into the second. And if I look at like the best available, the one that pops up all the time is Colton Hood from Tennessee as a cornerback. But at the same time, like, do we really need to take that sort of thing? Um, it's uh, it's difficult. In fact, do you know what? For the next one, I will do a mock draft. In fact, on the next podcast, we should do a live mock draft, and we can go through what our options are. I'll do it live, and we can have a selection of players we can choose from and build our own little draft.
And the
If
Titans will choose Louisville.
Yeah.
if you went in the first round, would you go for Baines or Bailey, James?
uh, sorry, between
Baines or Bailey,
Bane or
if they
Bailey.
decided not to say Love was taken by the Jets and so they were both available, who would you go for?
Arvel Reese.
Oh,
No, to be fair, I think for me it's either Arvel Reese or Bailey. I really like Bailey, and it is surname being Bailey myself. It makes it a lot as I'm heavily biased towards that. Um, Arvel Reese just purely because he can play linebacker and edge, and you've kind of got that two holes that we need in one player. Um, so he can fill in either side. And I think Simmons, Franklin, and Arvin Reese, all them mixing up on the across that D line could be really good. Um, but yeah, Bailey seems to be quite a strong. I think he's one of those players you could, if you pick him, I don't think you've got anything to really to worry about. Everyone's going to be like, "Oh, yeah, Bane's got the short arms, blah blah blah," but Bailey just seems to be quite explosive and he's fast. So I would go Bailey purely through bias. My last mock draft did pick Bailey as a when I had the choice of Bane, Love, and Bailey. I picked Bailey, but I feel like Reese. Uh, the first two picks is basically going to be Mendoza and Reese, I think, and then it's just what the Cardinals do after that. A lot of what I see is the Cardinals picking an offensive tackle. So then we're left with pretty much the whole pick of the pack, really. We pick the best wide receivers, the best edge threat, the best like running back. We've got the choice, really, haven't we? That Sonny Styles looks good as well.
Hmm.
See,
He's a bit of an
I'm just
athlete.
on the ESPN website, and their prediction is, the Raiders Mendoza, Jets Bailey, Cardinals Reese, Titans Sonny Styles, like you just said. So going down that way. So yes, everyone's got a different opinion of who's going to pick who, and it's just like I think you can kind of maybe pick those first kind of like 5 or 6 players seem to be like these top players in the draft. Then after that, it's a bit of a wild card of who's having who, isn't it?
Hmm. It's a bit.
Yeah.
It's also a bit interesting if you think what happens if they decided not to go for Love but took a trade, because you can pick up a lot of draft picks if someone really wants him to come.
The thing is, if you pick up a trade and drop back 3 places, there's a good chance you're going to get one of those players. There's a good chance Bain, Bailey, Love, Sonny Styles are still going to be there around that sort of thing, and you pick up maybe an extra pick. So it's a
I
risk
think,
that you
yeah, but I
lose
think if
out.
we traded back, I think the fans wouldn't be happy with that. I think the fans want them to have a high pick and get the right player in. I think it might be the right thing to do, but will the fan base accept it? I don't know. They're trying to get a bit of hype. If you've been on Twitter recently, there's a lot of hype about the Titans on there, and you kind of hope that the team is kind of edging towards. Let's try to keep the fans happy at the same time, but again, at the same time, you've got to do what's right for the draft at the same time.
Well, when I had a look at some mock drafts, it was a case of traded at 4 to say 6 or whatever, and Love was still available. So you got the player who you did want, and you got an extra couple of picks for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the weird thing how it all works. I do sometimes feel we're in a situation that a lot of fans are kind of built this thing around Love, but are we actually picking him a couple of picks too early? And there's players out there that probably might be better. But it's the same, isn't it? I've seen a lot of people do mock drafts, and a lot of people are picking wide receivers in the second round. I'm like, why are we picking wide receivers? Because I feel like our wide receiver room is pretty deep right now. And yes, I'm not going to lie, we could probably do with a couple of additions. But when you've got a wide receiver room of a Ridley, Wandale Robinson, Ayamana, DK, and then you're going
Restrepo.
into the Restrepo, you've got the Kingsley, Bryce Oliver. We've got depth pieces, and we have some all right pieces. People were hyping up Ayamana and DK at the end of the season. So having essentially 4 good players on that wide receiver list is we're in a very strong
Well, you
position.
don't need a young player to come through. If anything, we need proven talent and experience now if we're going to bring a wide receiver in. So yeah, what a wide receiver
We've got
draft.
2, haven't we? We've got Ridley and we've
Well,
got
that's what I
Wandale
mean. If
Robinson.
we're going to bring
So
somebody else in, you don't want to bring in probably a young person because they're not going to get a game, are they?
no.
No problem.
And if in that case, if we drafted a wide receiver, then we're admitting that DK and Iron Man aren't as good as what we initially thought. Because then if you're picking someone at the second round, you expect them to be essentially easily a wide receiver too at that sort of level. So
Right, and guys,
it,
I need to cut you off there because we're down for the last 50 seconds and we keep timing it just right in the last 50 seconds, don't we? So listen, guys, thanks once again for joining me. We'll get this shared as soon as we can. I just want to say to everyone who watches the video, please come join us on social media, especially Facebook. Facebook is the best one. We're at 500 members now. We've had a little bit of a boost last few days. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, not very good at Instagram. But come along, join us, especially on Facebook. You'll see these two on Facebook. Always very lively, very commentative. So everyone likes to talk on there. So guys, once again, thanks for joining us. And yeah, we'll be online soon and we'll get this all sorted and we'll meet up probably the same time next week.
see you later.
Cool. Cheers. I'm going to turn it off.